Holy cow! Welcome to Donnie's Hangout Adventures. There's just a Christmas tree. Ain't it beautiful? Merry Christmas. Going to try to make the most out of Christmas this year because I've talked about endlessly about what's going on. I'm not going to talk about that right now, or will I again? Maybe, maybe not. It's up for debate. The other day, Norman Lear passed away. You know what? I thought Norman Lear died a few years ago. I didn't know the guy was still alive. You know what? We can say rest in peace. And I hate it when you're on Facebook, people are going so sad. What's so sad about Norman Lear dying? No, seriously, let me ask you this. What's so sad? The guy lived an incredible long life. I mean long. 101. Are you okay, just a cow? You just got on my video, but you just can't see him. He fainted. Yes, he fainted because that is correct. You heard it right. He was 101. And you don't hear much of it. To live to be 100 means that you live for a full century, a full 100 years. Could you imagine even trying to do that? I'll tell you this, I don't want to live to be that old, quite frankly. I feel like that would be more of a curse than a blessing. Now, most of the people that are my age, or even old, or even in your 50s or in your 60s, if you mention Norman Lear, they're pretty much going to know who Norman Lear is. The guy doesn't get enough credit. He never did get enough credit. The guy was a genius. And he did a lot of his shows. You couldn't do this nowadays. No, you could not, because there would be a lot of snowflakes getting all over the bandwagon and they would be up in arms. And he did a lot, especially around the time frames, the 70s. There was a lot going on around in that time. There was a lot of, racial and prejudice going on. And Norman Lear, when he was writing for his shows, trying to come up with stuff that was happening with unrest in the country around that time. And, he created some of the biggest sitcoms of all time. If you're looking at the top 100 sitcoms of all time, Norman Lear's shows there's at least going to be at least 5 that were running almost at around the same time. It's rather amazing when you think about it. He did All in the Family, which ran from 1971 to 1979. All in the Family was way, way, way ahead of its time. Norman Lear wanted to show people how ignorant, how dumb people could sound. Archie Bunker was no question one of the most prejudiced, over-the-top characters that was ever invented in any sitcom in any era. And they did deal with a lot of real-life stuff. One of my favorite episodes that nobody delved this deep into stuff in the 70s. Norman Lear would go places that nobody would go. He wasn't afraid of it. I remember one episode, one of my favorites, Edith Bunker, Archie's wife, she was raped during an episode. Nobody delved into that kind of stuff ever. And he would do a lot of controversial episodes in All in the Family, no question about it. And even when he was getting ready to do a spinoff, because All in the Family was there. It was sort of a spinoff, but not really a spinoff. But okay, so George Jefferson appeared on a few episodes because they were going to have him do that his own show. But I also remember one other episode before I move on to the next one. Another episode I remember, one of my favorites, was Sammy Davis Jr. appearing on All in the Family, and there was that classic scene where Sammy Davis Jr. kissed Archie Bunker right here, and they got a picture of it. Classic shit. Classic episode, no question about it. And then when you think of another one, we're moving on up to the east side. The Jeffersons. Sorry, I had to move past on that. That ran probably long. I thought All in the Family Land ran longer, but no, Jeffersons did. Ran from 75 to 1985. And another show that Norman Lear, he went places that nobody would dare touch. It's a common theme here. He did something that a lot of sitcoms do nowadays, but he was one of the first ones to do it. You know what that was? A white and a black person being married was untouched. Nobody would even go near that one. Norman Lear is like, I'm going to go there. And they were, was there racial stuff in there? Yeah, like white honky and stuff like that. But that was way ahead of its time. I absolutely love the Jeffersons. I love George Jefferson and his walk. I mean, there's nobody that could play that role better than he could. And one of the shows I wasn't a big fan of, so I won't say too much of it. I wasn't a big fan, so I won't be able to say too much about it. About Sanford and Son. Sanford and Son. That only ran for like 72 to 77. I don't really have many fond memories of it because I don't think the show was as good as like All in the Family or the Jeffersons. I don't think it was quite as funny as those. It's a product of its time. You know, Red Fox is supposed to be one of the greatest comedians of all time. I was never a big fan of Red Fox. That's just me. I was never a big fan of Sanford and Son. I never really got into the show like a lot of other people did. I just never really got into it. The only thing I can really remember from it was, Red Fox, I'm coming Elizabeth, and faking the heart attack. That's all I can really remember from the show. I really wasn't a big fan of it, but nonetheless, that is another one of his classic shows. It's still looked upon fondly today, but me, I could do without it. Okay, so moving on from that, you have Good Times. Another show way ahead of its time, and it was a really good show that ran from 74 to 79. Is this the one that there was dynamite in it? Am I right, just a cow? I think so. I think that had dynamite, dynamite! Great show. I thought the show ran longer than 74 to 79 when you really think about it. Now, I'm getting down to the end here, and there's Maude. Maude ran from 72 to 78. And if you watch, it's just totally off base here, but if you watch B. Arthur's character on Maude, if you watch a couple episodes of Maude, watch about 3 episodes of Maude. That should do it. Watch about 3 episodes of Maude. I've always said this. And then watch 3 episodes of Golden Girls. You will know that B. Arthur's character is pretty similar, because that's one of the reasons why she wanted the Dorothy Zbornak character in Golden Girls, because it was pretty similar to B. Arthur's character in Maude. Again, it's not one of my favorite shows. I could do without it, but I have watched a few episodes of it to actually know that. Now, I know I wasn't a fan of every show Norman Lear did, but if you asked me to watch a few episodes of All in the Family and the Jeffersons, I would definitely do it. All in the Family would be number 1. Jeffersons would be number 2. I absolutely love both of those shows. They are way, way ahead of their own of time. There's they Norman Lear, common theme of Norman Lear, he went places where nobody would dare to go, that nobody would touch. And that was Norman Lear in a nutshell. Now, I'm not going to say, well, it's so sad that he died. I said that in the beginning of the video. The guy lived a long life. Let's be honest. He was very blessed. He was 101. But I will say this. Rest in peace. And condolences to the family members that are still alive, because there is some, and there is some that's still alive. So rest in peace to Norman Lear, and condolences to friends, family, colleagues, everybody who loved working with Norman Lear. And no question, he was way, way ahead of his time. There would never be another Norman Lear. There never will be. And he did stuff that nobody would touch. I wish I could get more into it with this video, but you know what? I think I did pretty good. I think I did darn good, given my take on Norman Lear. You know what? That's all, folks.